It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Well, we're in the studio again, as Janet said, with Glenn Boblitz, Sustainable Living Made Easy. And, Glenn, we talked about the foxes that can come in and out last week that can kind of destroy things. And we were in a bit of a defensive posture when it came to that. And then we talked about other stuff. But where are we going today?
Well, just like the fox coming in, he's just trying to take care of his family. I understand that. But, we've given him a warning, and
right.
He didn't heed. So, it's all about, getting a heads up. You got a little trouble coming. You see him going across the lawn this afternoon. He's going to be back tonight to eat the eggs out of the hen house. So being vigilant and looking around this world, you go, this frickin' place is on fire. What's going on?
Well, as we record this, you informed me when you got to the studio about this Molotov cocktail that was thrown at a survivor of the camps, the Germany camps. She was a Jewish lady, and I unplugged this weekend, so I didn't even hear the story. I had to get it from you.
Yeah, it was just because she was Jewish.
Holocaust survivor, and there's not many of those left.
Right, just an elderly woman.
Right.
And, people better wake up to the fact that if you're a Christian, you are grafted into the Jews.
Yeah, into the vine.
You've read the book, or at least you should. And if you didn't know that fact, you're not reading it enough. But,
right.
Where's the churches in this? Because we're next.
Yeah.
In fact, we're already there. They don't like Christians.
Yeah,
the world doesn't like Christians.
Right. In some countries, they're paying the ultimate price already.
One of the leading broadcasters in radio made mention of this morning. The West is taking a hit from all these other countries that have come in to just change their entire demographics.
Yeah, and this was
Europe,
an
France,
illegal
Paris.
alien.
The guy he didn't have a visa or anything, and it's just another warning sign, another cloud on the horizon. Yeah. It was kind of apropos that I heard the story about this poor Jewish woman this morning to let you know that storm's coming too. But I'm talking about summertime storms. They're rolling in. I did some work over in Southwest Virginia, out in the mountains, and it was a rough Saturday. It rained a little bit, and then it hailed on me. I'm trying to get my tools in, and they were bigger than the size of peas. It didn't last, but 45 seconds, but it beat the crap out of me trying to get my tools in. And then the sun pops out, and an hour later did it again. So it was kind of a soggy Saturday. Sunday cleared up real good, but those kind of storms are rolling in, and the thing of it is they start out slow. Summer has started out slow. Kind of cool, for this time of year. We should have had some 80s and 90s by now, but my garden's going, okay, where's the sunshine?
Right.
So my garden's kind of slow, and it's just because it's cool at night. We're not getting the nice 80, 90 degree days. So summer started out slow, but there's going to be a quick change. And it's coming this week, apparently. It's supposed to be 80 or 90.
Yeah,
We're not going to be ready for that. I'm just telling you, you're going to sweat because your blood's probably still plenty thick from just being cool weather.
Sure.
And it's going to slam you. And it's those kind of changes usually bring some bad storms.
Yeah.
And when storms come, we seem to be losing power left and right. And because we've had so much water, a lot of trees are going to go down. So I know darn good and well, some of you are going to lose power.
Yeah.
So, what do you do about that? You better have your generators ready and that kind of stuff. But the world's following the same pattern. It was kind of cool there for about a couple months. And now the crap is really starting to heat up. Politically, worldwide, economically, you name it. It's the same scenarios that our weather is doing. We're about to be slammed by something. the monetary system is just in an uproar. Gold's going one way, silver another, and a day later it switches, and you're going, that's not real stable.
Our Moody rating took another hit.
All of the above. So there's going to be some changes coming, and whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter. They're going to cause a little chaos and, just confusion.
Yeah.
Don't fret so much. Prepare more.
Yeah.
Not fretting does not mean not preparing.
Right.
In fact, you probably ought to look around and go, okay, the odds are we're going to get a really bad storm, whether it's weather-related or politically related or economically related. I don't care what it is.
Right.
If we have a disruption of any type, it just causes hardships.
Sure.
So all we're trying to do here is make you more sustainable to get you through that hardship moment, hardship week, month, 2 months. So that's how you should kind of plan, hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
That's being sustainable, where you can sustain yourself. So with that in mind, if you prepare yourself for a weather event, whether it's just flooding, a few trees down, or the East Coast. So if you plan that way, you say, okay, I want to be at least 2 days in where I can handle it for 2 days and I'm good. Then if you get that part handled, you got all your preparations ready for at least 2 days. A little bit of stored water, a couple cases of water, whatever.
Right.
Some fresh batteries in your flashlight. You could probably make it. Then you go to a week. And if you're going to have to sustain yourself a week, things are going to change. Your freezer's not going to sustain itself for a week.
Right.
Unless you got lots of fuel for your generator. So, okay, that's a step up.
Yeah.
Instead of 1-2 cans of gas, now I need probably 6 or 7, and a game plan, and some extra cords, and some better lighting. Right. And you can see how it just kind of gets exponential with time. The longer it's out, the more preparations you have to have. Are you going to be ready for a 4-month total East Coast outage? Good luck with that.
Doubtful.
Best you can do is to have a group of you. Because you're going to have a hole in your plan. You're going to have a hole in your supplies. And you're going to have to depend on other people to maybe make up some of that. So that's why my inner circle has been strengthened over the past 5 years that I've been doing this, publicly. Now, there's a lot of things that you could be doing. One of them is getting some training medically, getting some training to preserve foods, taking a repair course for small motors, all of the above. So you can see if you're planning for a little longer term outage that you need to step up your game. And you're going to need the people around you that may already have the skills, but you have to have either something to trade or a bond with that person, that family, to survive this.
Right.
Not just survive, thrive through it.
Right.
Because a lot of people are not. If you get out more than a week or two, there's going to be some ugly people coming around. Because they're not prepared at all.
Right.
Now, what do you do with them people? You stay away from them and protect yourself from them. Don't go out in chaos.
Right.
If you get hurt, who's your family going to depend on?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is personal, and you're going to have to decide how to work that end of it. But I'm talking about for right now is just the storms that are coming, and we're definitely getting worse storms than I've ever seen. They just seem to pop up out of nowhere in the oddest places. So there is some climate change going on, I feel sure. The oceans are changing a little bit, and that screws up everything. We're in a delicate balance, our world is. And it's been running along humming pretty good. Well, kind of out of whack now, it seems like. But I don't think it's because we're burning fossil fuels. I think this world's out of whack because it's out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
So getting prepared is what I want you to do. And there's several things that I always do, and that's ask people what their priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
And, they'll rattle off some things. Make sure the chicken's fed. Well, you better make sure you're fed first. So there's a hierarchy in this priority, and it's just food, water, shelter.
Right.
That's as basic as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
But then it breaks down to different categories when you start talking like food security. Like I say, if you're out for a day or two, you fire up the generator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just make sure that generator's running. Like
Right.
today,
Yeah.
go out and see if you can get it started without pulling the string 2 million times and go, this thing will not start.
Right.
Well, you better take it to somebody to get it started for you, or you fix it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd far rather see you be able to fix it yourself. Even if you got to YouTube it, even if you have to get your Briggs & Stratton owner's manual out, I don't care what you got to do, get the thing fixed where when you pull it more than 2-3 times, it will fire and run.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done that lately? I would say 99% of you have not done that lately because it's a small thing. Well, that small thing will be a big thing.
Big thing, yeah.
In a storm. Get it done. Fuel. If you're prepping for a storm, you know it's coming, that's one thing. You run out and get some fuel. If it's one of them things that pop up, you should have had the fuel already. Because, these storms are getting serious. I just got hailed on. Well, hail's a pretty good sign of a tornado. Real close, but it just didn't quite happen this past weekend, but thank goodness. So you might want to just keep that fuel around. Right. And if you're going to store it for more than a month, put some fuel additive in it, something to stabilize the fuel. That's just a little hint. Read the directions. Don't overstabilize your fuel. Use it up, rotate it out. If you're planning for 4 or 5 months worth of fuel, you need to rotate that fuel out. Don't think just because you have a barrel that's been sitting back here for 2 years with some diesel fuel in it that it's still good.
Yeah.
You need to check that. You need to rotate it out.
I think, doesn't gas sort of...
Gas is even worse.
Caramelizes in a sense.
Well, it
that's the wrong word. But it does.
Yeah, it's called not cetane. The octane part starts to lower and forms tars and these gums and it's just a terrible fuel. It's hard to get your machines to run on it, and it'll gum up the carburetors. All of the above.
Right.
That's why you need to run your generator more because the little carburetor on it is full of fuel.
Yeah, it's got
this. And it goes bad and turns to this varnish inside of it.
Yeah, varnish.
And it makes your machine run terrible or not even start at all. So you need to have good clean gas all the time. The amount depends on how far you want to plan for. Me, I'd plan as far as I could that I wouldn't go broke, but I could sustain. And the thing about all the things that I prep for, I use gasoline every week. So if I've got a 25, 30-gallon tank, I can just put it in my car and run it. Or put it in my vans and run it, and then fill it back up.
Right.
And being that fuel prices are coming down, that may be an opportune time right now to do that.
Just to refill,
and tell you the truth, did that last week.
Did you?
So
okay.
I do follow my own darn advice here. I'm not just putting it out there. But food security. We talked about being able to save your freezer, and it's probably close to $2,000, $3,000 worth of food. If you got a big upright freezer or a big chest freezer, that's very feasible to say I have $3,000 worth of food. You better be able to save that.
Yeah.
So let's say that you do have this storm coming. You get your generator, and you're able to maintain your generator for 3 or 4 days. Well, they tell you, we may be out of power in your area for a month because we've lost a substation. Highly possible, folks. lines down is one thing. You know, God bless the American Electric Power for how fast they do take care of that stuff.
Right.
But larger facilities, larger transformers and substations, this is complicated stuff here and very expensive and hard to get. They don't keep substation parts around. You know, some of them are 2 years in the making. So if we lost something like that, they could go, we're in trouble here. You're going to be out for a month or more. What would you do with all that food?
Yeah. Jeez.
Well, that's why I buy jars in bulk and sit them back and say, okay, just in case, I've got enough to can half of my freezer.
Right.
Which is quite an amount of food, you know. But so I could put the expensive stuff in a jar, some things that I couldn't replace. Now I can grow my vegetables pretty quick, and I have canned over the previous year, so that is a replaceable item. But beef is not that replaceable, and it is so expensive right now. So that would be your high dollar value. That's what I would can first. You know, that's important to have meat. You can get a lot of vegetables and things from a lot of different sources. So that's what I would do if you're planning that far in advance. Cooking, well, if you're out of power for a week, you may not be able to run to the local fast food place.
True.
They may be out of power. Well, you may be running to the next town. Now, why would you do that? Just because they have fast food, it's not that good anyway.
Right.
I'm just saying, you probably ought to have an alternative way to cook. Back several. It's kind of expensive to run propane for a week, your entire house, you know, because you'll be heating water and all kinds of stuff. But you may not be able to get that refilled up. So to me, that is an emergency fuel source for cooking. I wouldn't use that. What I use is wood, because you can find wood.
Yeah.
Even if you have to walk down your neighbor's woods down there and come back with an armload, that'd be enough for the day to cook a meal.
Right.
So there are options there. So what kind of wood and how would you cook it? You know, you could use the old type grills, even if you didn't have propane. You could just build a wood fire in it and cook in it. You just need a place to put the food on that you're cooking is on the grill. A simple fire pit, a fire in a stick. I mean, you can go back to the caveman. He cooked. If the caveman could do it, surely you can.
Yeah.
And then there's rocket stoves. Now, there's a million designs for rocket stoves. Some are very simple. Some are a little more permanent. Look into these little things. Now, things will heat up a 5-gallon container of water in a hurry. I did a test with my little rocket stove. I heated an entire blue canner of water, which was like 4 gallons, in less than 3 minutes. Wow. Once the little fire was going, and it wasn't like I had some super duper fuel. Right. It was just small twigs. That was it, a twig fire.
Right.
Bundles of twigs, I'd stuff them in, and that thing roared, you know, hence the rocket part.
Yeah.
But it'll heat it up very fast. So it's an efficient way to heat water or cook very quickly. You just have to, if you're going to cook with it, you don't want super rocket fuel coming out of it, but you can regulate that by the amount of air going into these little rocket stoves.
Okay.
So that and they're much more less expensive, I should say, less expensive today than they were 2 years ago. That's because everybody's figuring out these things are great, and there's a lot more manufacturers of them.
Right.
So if you can't build one, or you're not handy enough to build one, you go freaking buy one. I mean, you can get them $39. To have something that efficient, it'd be a good thing. So that's a way to cook. Heating up water. If you're out of power for a week, you might want to take a bath at the end of the week.
All right.
Nice. At least to wash yourself off, because you're going to have to stay clean.
Right.
If you don't stay clean, you're going to get sick. That's all there is to it. So having a way to heat up that 5 gallons of water where you can take a bath in a bucket, you know, just wash off and, you know, just don't dip your dirty rag in the clean water.
Right.
2 buckets.
2 buckets, yeah.
Right. So by the time you wash yourself from head to toe, you should have about a gallon of still warm water left that you can do a total rinse off. So,
Right.
and believe it or not, the military teaches you how to do this.
Okay.
In some of the units anyway.
Yeah.
To take a helmet full of water and wash it off totally.
Oh, wow.
In a helmet full of water, you may have to fill it up the second time for a good rinse, but
All right.
you're going to need to clean yourself and keep yourself clean and all that.
Sure.
So that's another benefit of that rocket stove and just the water part.
Yeah.
Here we go. Where are you going to get all that water?
Boy.
Right.
Great question.
So for 2-3 days, as I said, you could probably survive that on a couple cases of water. Being very frugal with it, but still staying hydrated. Now, if there's a lot of work to do, you're going to drink quite a bit of water. You should drink about 3 quarts of water a day. Do you?
I don't.
I do not neither, but I make it up in coffee, folks. By the time
I'm taking a drink right
I've
now.
gotten a truck to go to work, I've already drank a quart of, but it's not the same. It doesn't count. It does not count because of the caffeine. But regardless of that, that's what you need to target is at least 3 quarts of water just to maintain yourself very hydrated. So you start multiplying that times each family member, time each day. You go, gosh, I need a bathtub full of water.
That's a lot of
well,
water.
yes, you do.
That's a lot of water.
So, that's a good habit to get into is when a storm's coming and they go, oh, it's going to be a bad storm. Fill the bathtub up all the way up to where it starts to drain out the overflow.
Right.
Shut it down and, don't let the dog in there. So having that water stored or a resource or some extra water, that's just smart. It is.
Yeah.
But refill and resupply of water, you really should think about. There's a lot of things you can do without. Water is not one of them.
Right.
You're only going to make it a short amount of time without water.
Right.
So get that game plan together. And you may not be able to fix that. You may not have a well. You may not have a neighbor that has a well.
Right.
But keep going down the line till you find somebody, the closest person you can find, and make that deal. Hey,
right.
Have your wife make him a chocolate cake. Say, I'll give you this chocolate cake if I'm allowed to come and get water out of your well if the crap happens. And, chocolate cake does a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And if he's an old codger, you may have to switch it to beer or something. But whatever it takes to make that deal, that win-win deal, water. Do not miss that priority. All right, so we're back down to the shelter. Food, water, shelter. That's your house or your garage or your barn. Your house may have got blown down. Or your neighbor's house got blown down and they don't have a place to shelter. What you do? You got to help your inner circle, your people. So the first thing you're going to experience is darkness, because just like it's always darkest before the dawn. It also, the dawn goes away at nighttime, and now you're in the dark. So what are you going to do? You're going to get batteries. Batteries will hang out for 1 or 2 nights. You'll tend to use your batteries way more than you want to. Kids want the flashlight. No,
right.
Not in an emergency.
Right.
No, you're not allowed to have a flashlight. I'll go with you, and we'll do what you got to do and come back, but you don't get the flashlight because they'll just run it all night long, and then you'll be out.
Right.
So some extra batteries. A lot of people like rechargeable batteries. Really, where are you going to charge them at?
Right. Well.
Now, if you have a solar panel set up with a little inverter, okay, you're way ahead of the game. So, real good idea. So, just some type of light. Candles, okay? If you got a candle, you better have the fire extinguisher right next to it. Just a rule of thumb, anything with a flame should have a fire extinguisher next to it. Same with the rocket stove. So keep that in mind, because you know it's not a light switch.
Right.
You know, it's something that may catch your whole house on fire.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, and never go to sleep with a candle burning. Do not do it. So that's one way. To the fire extinguisher. In a major storm, when power goes down, if you've ever seen an electrical power line touch the ground that's still alive, you know, there's that blue arc that will set anything on fire that's around at 5,000 degrees. It's going to catch something on fire. Now, that may be 10 blocks up from your house. But as you've seen in the California fires, all you need is one house to catch fire and the wind to blow the right direction, and your house will be on fire.
Yeah.
And it's not like it has to be next to you. The embers go through the air.
Yes.
I mean, you've seen brush fires. The embers go 200 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to come down somewhere. And that's how these places, you know, got burnt to the ground. Just kept jumping from one community to the other and just really had a bad time about it. So fire extinguishers.
Let's take a break here because I want to build on the fire extinguishers, and I want to talk to you about these fire blankets that are available for the smaller fires that can turn into bigger fires. We're with Glenn Boblitz. This is Sustainable Living Made Easy.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
You say jam?
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
We're back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz. Be sure to look for Sustainable Living on Facebook for even more information and follow-up conversations with other members. Now, here's your host, Mark Lamb.
So, Glenn, before we went into the break there, we were talking about fire extinguishers. My wife just came home with, it doesn't look like a fire extinguisher. It's a canister, though, that you spray out. It almost looks like a big can of spray paint. But what's inside is the elements to put out a fire. You know, and it's a one-off, you're done. You're done with most fire extinguishers anyways. But, she said, I think we should probably keep this in our kitchen cabinet, and just help us out there. So,
well, a fire extinguisher actually should be accessible, and visible.
Okay.
But nobody wants a big red fire extinguisher hanging on the wall in the kitchen.
Right.
Although that's the most likeliest place to have a fire.
Right.
But they do make these little canisters type now. There's several kinds of fire extinguishers. One's an ABC. They classify fuels and gave it a letter. A is like wood and paper. B is fuels, and I forgot what C is, but or fumes or whatever it was. But and they'll put out all three. Now that's dry chemical ABC fire extinguishers.
Right.
They come out at super high pressures, and how they work is they coat the fuel. You got to be real careful if you have a grease fire.
Right.
That's probably not the one
Because
you want to grab.
Yeah,
I think they're like 350 pounds of pressure.
Right.
Now that's going to just splatter that grease everywhere, and it's going to explode the fire. So that's not the correct one for kitchen, in my opinion, unless the cabinets are on fire.
Right.
And yes, okay.
So what about these blankets that we keep hearing about and see the videos?
That's a good thing, but it does two things. One, it smothers the oxygen, doesn't allow as much oxygen to get to the fire, like a grease fire, and that's usually what happens. Something flares up, and it's a panic. I don't care what you do.
Right.
When you see fire in your kitchen that's out of control and, jumping 2 foot high and licking the bottom of your cabinet, you're going, this is an emergency.
Sure.
Some people don't do well in emergencies.
Right.
Some people don't do well
They
under
just
pressure.
over panic.
Some people don't do well when they panic. Well, a fire does all three of those kind of people.
Sure.
So this blanket, when you throw it over the pan, you don't throw it at the pan. You must open it up,
Yes.
shield yourself with it so you don't get burned.
Yeah.
And just kind of gently flop it over. Now, it's hard to get somebody to do something gently when their house is on fire, but that's how it's done.
Yeah.
If you had to, rotate the handle to the back of the stove or to the side of the stove so you don't hit the handle first. Because
okay.
that dumps everything.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
Just practice if you had to.
Yeah.
You could practice with a regular blanket with a empty pot
Yeah.
on your stove.
Sure.
You could just practice doing that and just gently throw it over. The minute you cover that pan, it'll use up all the oxygen.
Yeah.
And you just let that sucker sit there, because sometimes when you lift it off, the
you're-
grease is hot enough to combust again. So these are all things. So just let the thing sit there, sit back, and that'd be a good time to go, holy crap, that was close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want to make the fire worse. You want to protect yourself the whole time and do it with a little practice and go, okay, I can do it. My wife can do it, because more than likely
It's going to be her.
it's going to be her defending the house. So a little practice. Same way with a fire extinguisher. A little practice with a fire extinguisher. I know they're $40 and $50.
Right.
Build your little fire outside, your little fire pit, and see if you can put it out.
Yeah.
There's a definite technique to using a fire extinguisher, starting at the base of the flame, working towards the flame, and then coat the fuel. Okay. So, and the fire department actually will give these classes. Did you know that?
I did.
Like once, twice a year, they'll give these classes out. And if they don't, go ask them. All right. So we talked about ABC, the dry chemical. Then you have CO2. CO2 smothers it out by removing the oxygen. Well, you need oxygen too. So
Right.
if you spray a whole lot of it, it's going to be displacing the oxygen. One of the problems with CO2 is it comes out so cold. It's cold enough to instantly freeze the skin on your hands or your face. So
Right.
if somebody gets grease on their clothing, catches fire for whatever reason, or on a shirt sleeve, and you spray them with CO2 too closely, it will freeze their skin, frostbite their skin just instantly.
my gosh.
So that's not real good.
No.
But they do a good job on certain types of materials that are on fire. It also comes out at high pressure. Another one that blow grease everywhere. So now you have the dry chemical, the CO2, the blanket, and then there's the halon. I don't know. I don't even know if you can still get those. I know that they have the small ones now, but halon is an inert gas, and they use it like space shuttle. NASCAR used it. It doesn't affect anything else. It doesn't come out with super high pressures, but it does do the three things to eliminate a fire. It displaces the oxygen so the fire can't breathe. It cools down the combustible material, and it coats the fuel. So those are your options. Throwing water on something also works unless it's grease.
Okay.
Do not throw a pan of water on a pan of grease that's on fire. It will spit, spatter, and it'll be an explosion like it doesn't even make sense how that happened.
Yeah.
Water's supposed to put out all fires.
Right.
No.
Not in this
So-
case. Wow.
And if you don't have this fire blanket for a grease fire, just about any blanket will work, but not as good as the fire blanket.
Right.
So if you had to, you could put a quilt or a blanket over that. I don't recommend it, but if that's the last
That's all you
resort,
got, yeah.
do it. Grease fires. Picking up that hot pan may be a mistake, because you can't walk steady enough with a pan
Right.
of grease.
Yeah, you're-
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
The pan's going to be boiling hot. You're not going
Right.
you're not going to be thinking to get the pot holders to move. You're just in a panic.
Sure.
So that is not a good way to do it. If you have just a lid for your pan, and I suggest this, you ladies that cook with grease, especially frying chicken, have that lid there. Now, I don't put a lid on my fried chicken.
Okay.
It steams my chicken. I don't want that. But the lid should still be there.
Yeah.
Because all you would have to do is, before it gets out of hand, is to take that lid and place it over the pan. Now, it should be the proper lid, but if you smother that oxygen out, it'll go out. And then let it sit there and cool off at least 20 minutes before you pick that thing up.
Sure.
So there's the fire, like I said, the fire department or EMS or anything, they hold these classes, fire prevention classes. If this stuff that I'm talking about is new to you, you need to go take one of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, maybe hold one for my group. I haven't done that in a while, so that may be a good thing coming up. So that's fighting fires. Medical. If you have ever been through one of these tornadoes, it's pretty devastating, and people get hurt. I mean, seriously hurt.
Right.
If a tree comes through your bedroom in the middle of the night, and God forbid it falls on you, you're going to be hurt. People have no idea how much a tree weighs until it falls on them. Cutting tree limbs down. You ever have one whack you? It's only about 3 inches round. The thing about to take your head off.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine a 12-ton tree coming down through. It would do some devastating damage to your house.
Oh my gosh.
So you're going to get hurt. People are going to get hurt. If you're out there working, doing anything, clearing brush, you're going to get cut, nicks, bruises. But what if it's a serious cut?
Yeah.
Now, if you cut yourself seriously, you only have about 3 minutes to stop that bleeding. Holy crap. A big artery cut on your wrist, arm, leg, car accident, I don't care what it is. If you have a serious cut, 3 minutes is about all. Your heart is very efficient at pumping, and it will pump it all out.
Right.
And when the tank goes dry, that's the end.
Yeah, that's the end.
You lose the race. So being able to stop that, well, how am I supposed to do that? Well, there's a tourniquet. Do you know how to apply the tourniquet? There's several classes that have been offered all around the county at least a dozen times over the past 2 years. It's called Stop the Bleed, and it teaches you how to stop a major cut from somebody bleeding out. And it could be your neighbor that's cut.
Sure.
If you had that knowledge where, your neighbor comes running over and says, Bill just fell out of the tree and got cut on a piece of glass,
right.
And whatever happened, running a chainsaw, and he's bleeding profusely. I've got a towel on it, but it won't stop bleeding. That's the time for a tourniquet.
Yeah.
Now, you can have these quick man-made tourniquets by pulling your belt off and pulling, but it doesn't do a good job as a tourniquet. So having a tourniquet and medical kit on hand in your home where you can whip that thing out and be trained at it, you could definitely save someone's life. There's no doubt in my mind. And you only got about 3 minutes to do it. So you don't want to have to go look for it. My little emergency medical bag is bright orange, and it sits in one spot. It does not get moved for no reason. That I know where it's at every time. So having a little medical training now, if the sight of blood makes you a little queasy, get over it. You really don't have time to think like that.
Yeah.
And if you want to save somebody, and it may be one of your children, and you didn't have the knowledge, you'd have to live with that for a very long time.
Yeah.
So why not do that? Even if you do a little group thing with your whole family,
right,
or a little group thing with your neighbors. Hey, we're going to have this guy come in and do it. And there's resources out there. You just have to do it. Get up off your butt. Times are not the same as they were.
No.
The storm is coming. This kind of crap happens all the time on normal days.
Right.
These are not normal days.
And drive by
These
your
are dangerous
room.
days,
Yep.
and you better be prepared for them. So
yeah.
Quit making excuses and go out and do this. Next would be a bug out bag. Not because Civil War happened. I'm talking about crap happens. Tree fall down on your house in the middle of the night, and what are you going to do about it? Well, you can't run to your neighbors because he's got one on his house. One of these storms come through. You've seen it on TV.
Oh, yeah.
It may wipe out,
Devastates
you
a
know,
neighborhood.
a whole strip through a whole entire county. And these storms are getting that big. So no one's coming to save you on some of this stuff. So if you have that bug out bag, and your kids ought to have a bug out bag or a backpack or whatever, however you set it up, and you can go online and find a million ideas for this. Have each individual person have their own bug out bag that they can put on their back, or at least have the straps to carry, because carrying something heavy one-handed doesn't work.
Right.
Because you can't go far that way. So having that where you can at least get out of the area, and it may be flood. I don't know what natural disaster may hit us, or unnatural disaster. But to have that is just smart. So put that on your things to do list. Last thing I want to address is a power outage. If you're out more than a week, things are going to get serious in a hurry. Not only are they serious for you, they're going to be serious for your neighbor and your county. And if it goes 2-3 weeks, people get stupid, and they get desperate, and they get dangerous, and then they get stupid some more. You can see where that would lead.
Yeah.
Now, there's a difference between an outage, an extended outage. One would be a localized thing, and the other may be a wider spread thing. If we had some widespread outage, whether we were hacked or and the grid went down, you name it. I mean, it's all possible. The sun could take us out.
Yeah, well, we've had that show.
And it's past couple of days, it's actually and we're not sure if we're not going to get hit the next day or two. So you need to watch those things. Great, there's another thing to watch. But I'm just saying, if all these things do happen, it could be ugly for you if you're not prepared.
Yeah.
And then this is all about staying out of the chaos, not getting into the chaos. And the only way you can do that is be prepared enough where you don't have to go out in the chaos. That's why water is so important, your shelter is so important, and your food supply is so important. Now, how you protect that, I'll leave to you. How you prepare for it, I've given you some hints, but I'm just saying all I've done is touch the top of this iceberg. The rest is underground or underwater. You need to investigate it and get on it. World is not good. Storm's coming. Jesus saves. That's all I'm saying, folks. Get prepared.
Well, Glenn, thank you.
It was a kind of a dark thing, but if you don't do it, that's where you'll be.
Right.
In the dark. Don't get in the dark.
Literally.
Come to the light. That's what the man said. Come to the light.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.